Be ready, guys. 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, I wish to speak a few words on this bill. Sir, I feel that there was no necessity for moving this coffee amendment bill as the coffee board administration has been carried on efficiently with the cooperation of all the members of the board, both elected and nominated. I do not know what the government are aiming at by moving this amending bill. Government have not pointed out in what way the elected representatives of growers worked against the interest of the government or the board or the planters. Instead of decentralizing powers, they seem to concentrate powers in the center. I think, sir, this is a bad policy. The government should decentralize powers and distribute the same among the people. Sir, I know that the nominations representing several interests such as labor, consumers, trade, etc. are being made by the government. Till now, the coffee growers used to elect their representatives to the board. They had the right of franchise and used to elect representatives in whom they had confidence. But this bill contemplates to deprive the planting community even of their elementary right of electing their representatives. What is the object and background of this amendment? I want to ask. The Honorable Minister was pleased to say that this board is on the analogy of the tea board and all that. There are three boards now, the coffee board, the rubber board and the tea board. The functions of this board are different from the functions of the other two boards. You cannot place the functions of the coffee board on an equal footing with those of the tea board or the rubber board. The same rules as can be applied to the rubber board cannot be applied to the coffee board. Sir, the coffee industry is now facing a great crisis. The prices of coffee, both in the internal as well as in the external markets, are going down from year to year and the cost of production is on the increase. The cost of manure and estate implements has gone up beyond limit. The increased labor wages, introduction of Provident Fund and bonus and several other provisions of the Labour Act are standing in the way of development and progress of the coffee industry. Sir, our coffee production is not much and we are not able to cope with the foreign competition. Sir, with a view to earning more and more foreign exchange, our government are exporting more and more coffee. With that object in view, they have closed almost all coffee houses in India. Now we have neither the home nor the external market for our coffee. The prices obtaining in the external market are lower than the prices obtaining in India. This is the situation. In this connection, I should like to say that the coffee board marketing policy is not sound and is not appreciated, and the board requires efficient elected representatives of coffee growers to give sound advice and chalk out sound policy to help this industry. Till now, from top to bottom, all are being nominated except representatives of growers. They have introduced the nomination system which is against the principles of democracy. What harm is there in continuing the right of franchise so far given to the planting community to elect their representatives? I do not know who gave this sound advice to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Sir, even the coffee board, when they came to know that this bill would be moved in Parliament, passed a resolution opposing the bill. There are a number of nominated members who oppose this bill. I was a member of the coffee board then. When rumors spread that this kind of amending bill would be brought forward before Parliament, they passed a resolution opposing this. Therefore, sir, in the age of democracy, when we are giving more and more powers to the people, why not have elected representatives for the coffee board? We used to elect our chairman formerly and he had a right of appointing labor representatives, etc. Now the center wants to take away all powers and they want to carry on the administration. Should they not like to get the cooperation of the planters, growers, consumers, traders and others? Why should they have the nomination system? I cannot understand. I request the Honorable Minister to consider this case and see to it that the system of election of the representatives of big growers is retained and the planting community is not deprived of their right of franchise which they have exercised so far. Till now, the administration has been carried on very smoothly. It was going on very efficiently. The present chairman is a nice gentleman. He is taking a lot of interest. The measure before the House is intended to remove some grave deficiencies in our arrangements for the training of technical personnel. At any time in any country, it would be a matter of very great importance that for the functioning of its industries there should be technical personnel of satisfactory quality and in adequate numbers. For India at this stage of her economic development, when the country is making the maximum effort for rapid industrialization with a view to achieving what we call self-sustaining progress, there is nothing more important among the requisites for the success of our plans than this one factor of the availability of suitably trained personnel in sufficient numbers. This deficiency has persisted for some time. It has been brought to our notice by several committees that we should try to persuade the employers to make arrangements for the training of apprentices. The committee, of course, touched the question of institutional training also. Defects are to be removed in the case of both kinds of training, viz. Institutional training and apprentice training. Regarding institutional training, in the course of past 10 years, we have succeeded in making adequate arrangements. We had the experience in the course of the 10th plan and also, I should say, the second plan of shortage of technical personnel of various grades for certain industries. Therefore, we set up institutions and training centers in order to make up that deficiency, and now we are in a happier situation. In respect of many categories of trained personnel, we have now adequate arrangements for training. In the case of craftsmen to whom this measure refers primarily, I may just give some recent figure. At the beginning of the 11th five-year plan, we had facilities at the training centers of the Ministry of Employment and Labour for training only about 10,000 persons, and now at the end of the second five-year plan, the figures has risen to 42,000. We have projected various steps which will enable us to take this figure up to 1 lakh at the end of 12th plan. Similarly, in the matter of technical education of higher grades also, the requisite facilities are being provided so that we do not anticipate any serious difficulty there. But obviously training in institutions is incomplete without a certain period of what is called in-plant instruction, which is very necessary. Therefore, it has to be ensured that they get some practical training. Now, we have been experiencing certain difficulties in this direction also. We have found difficulty in placing the young men who come out of our institutions in various plants and industrial establishments in order that they may acquire skill by practical training. We have found much greater difficulty regarding the full course of apprenticeship in the case of those who do not go through the institutional training first. Sir, I may explain that there are two aspects of this legislation for the training of apprentices. One is the objective of regulation and enforcement of certain standards so that if a person receives training in one place, he can go to any part of the country for that type of work, because there will be the guarantee that he had received training of the requisite standard. That will ensure mobility of trained personnel throughout the country and also ensure that proper standards are being observed in training. The other aspect is that we have to make sure that we are able to provide the industries with a sufficient number of technical personnel of this type. Therefore, the main objective which is sought to be implemented through this legislation is that we lay down the standards or provide for the standards that have to be preserved in the course of this training program, and also that the industry has to make arrangements to provide facilities for a certain proportion of its employees being admitted as trainees for apprenticeship. I will now refer to the various clauses of the bill just to explain very briefly the scheme of this proposed legislation. Chapter 2 refers in the first instance to the qualifications for being engaged as an apprentice. The age should not be less than 14 years and certain standards of education and physical fitness as may be prescribed have to be satisfied. Then the procedure is laid down as to how an apprentice enters into a contract of apprenticeship so that a number of conditions affecting the relationship of the apprentices with the industrial establishment with the employer are properly laid down. Apart from these conditions, it deals with various other matters which are referred to in subsequent clauses. Sir, the period of training is also to be prescribed in the case of those who have passed the trade tests conducted by the council.